the different kind of samadhi. What is this bojjhanga samadhi? Is it different from the jhana samadhi, right? So that's the first question. Anybody else want to add to the queue? Add questions.
I think it also explains if you read the Anapanasati Sutta, it's described as Anapanasati, fulfill the Satipatthana, and then it fulfills the Satavajjhanga, which then leads to Bija as well as Dina.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that?
Okay.
The connection,
Okay.
how the Anapanasati connected to
Okay. Okay, next question is on Anapanasati. Okay.
And also, if you can explain also how would that fit into the Noble Eightfold Path? We have the Samasati and Samasamadhi. Is it inserted in between Sati and Samadhi?
Okay.
Or is it, should we do the thing after the Samadhi?
Okay. Alright. Can I'll cover
a piece that,
okay.
The Satavajjhanga goes into that 7, 8, and 10.
Okay, can. Alright, so I'll cover that also.
Just dive a bit on tape. Instead of using Anapanasati as starter, what I'm says.
Okay.
Can I replace that with metta?
Okay.
And then also metta with Satipatthana also.
Yeah.
And then that will also goes to the Bojjhanga.
Okay.
And then also we will write.
Okay.
So the starting method instead of Anapanasati, maybe the Buddha says that use Anapanasati as. Okay. So can he say that can I take that and then put metta? Or even the 2 parts? I don't know all these are connected.
Yeah. Okay. Very good question.
Metta, the term metta has very important listening. Just now, Monday we also had related the story of meditating place, then this unseen thing disturb them.
Okay.
But then on the other hand, when we refer Rahula, Buddha, of all the tradition taught Anapanasati to the sun, Rahula.
Okay.
So it just show Anapanasati for those that have no time to find out which one is suitable. Choose Anapanasati.
Okay. Very good question. How many of you here ever learned breath meditation before? Breathing meditation, so okay, not everybody. Okay, all right. So breath meditation can be very technical, a lot of steps. So some people teach breath, some people teach some other thing. So because everybody has different inclination, so the Buddha knows how to sort of diagnose. The Buddha is a mind reader, so he knows which meditation theme is suitable for the practitioner. But now the Buddha not around, so we have to try and error on our own. So it's good to be careful a bit, learn a bit more. Then you see which one is suitable for you. Okay. So the benefit of this breathing meditation, normally we use Anapanasati Sutta as a reference. But in my presentation, I use Anapanasati Sutta and another sutta to complement the more complete package of the breath meditation. Like earlier on, Brother Casey mentioned Anapanasati, how it leads to these 7 factors of awakening. But a lot of times, the Anapanasati Sutta itself never clearly mentioned does Anapanasati lead to the different jhanas actually. So there is another sutta also on these 16 steps of breath meditation that talks about entering the different levels of concentration. So I will let you see later. Okay. Okay, so you can look at my mouse here. Okay, so in and out breathing, these 4 frames of reference are actually 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is Ajahn Tanisaro's translation. He likes to use very unconventional English terms. So, like suffering, they use stress. 4 foundation of mindfulness, he use 4 frames of reference. So I just let you know this term. Okay. Oops. Okay, then these 4 foundations of mindfulness eventually will lead to the 7 factors of awakening. So any meditation object with these 4 foundations of mindfulness will have these 7 factors of awakening, because 7 factors of awakening is part of the 4th foundation of mindfulness. And the 7 factors of awakening is the gateway to awakening. So nobody can say they reach enlightenment without experiencing these 7 factors of enlightenment. So it's a must to go through. So this is also confirmed in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, where Venerable Sariputta is praising the Buddha, praising our current Buddha as the best Buddha of all the past, present, future Buddhas. And the Buddha was asking Venerable Sariputta, how you come to this conclusion? So Venerable Sariputta said, by he himself experiencing these 7 factors of awakening. So all Buddhas will have to teach these 7 factors of awakening. Okay. So these 7 factors of awakening itself doesn't mean you're still enlightened. You need to further cultivate and eventually reach this release, this enlightenment. So 7 factors of awakening is just a gateway. You need to carry on with your practice and eventually reach this complete enlightenment. So these are a few suggestions of the venue, under a tree, in the wilderness, empty building. So the whole idea is to find a place where there's not much distraction. Okay, then you find a place, sit legs crosswise. You can sit on a chair, doesn't matter, like me right now, sit on a chair. And important is to hold your back upright, again to prevent back injury, so it's important. And also to keep yourself wakeful, because if too slouchy, then it becomes easy to fall asleep. And mindfulness to the fore, not behind you, not above, not below, so it's in front, to the fore. Okay, so these are the instructions, so it's going to get very technical. Okay, so these first 4 steps, we call this mindfulness of the body. So this mindfulness of the breathing, total have 16 steps. But we know mindfulness, 4 foundation mindfulness have 4, right? There are 4 foundations. So each foundation has 4 steps to make things easy for you. So 4 times 4 is 16. So the first 4 steps talks about mindfulness of the body. And so it's all about breathing. Breathe in long, breathe out long, you know. And breathe in short, breathe out short, you also know. Then you breathe in, breathe out, sensitive to the entire body. Then the next one, calming the entire body. Okay, so the first 4 steps. Okay, so we start with the first 2. We're doing the physical breathing. So because of these first 3 steps, different tradition have different area where they want to feel the breathing. Some say feel the whole body, some say one area, some say here, and some say other place. So there are different interpretations, right? So to me, it doesn't really matter as long as you achieve this, calming the body. If the more you breathe, the more agitated you are, the more restless, that means not correct with it. Something is wrong somewhere. But if you're able to breathe and able to calm down the mind, calm down the body, that means that aspect is correct. Because ultimately, we are not training the breath. We are not training the breath. We are making use of the breath to eventually train the mind. Train to let go of the 5 aggregates. So that's the idea. So we're not training the breath. So there are meditations which train the breath, for example like Qigong. So Qigong is really train the breath, control the breath, make the breath move here, make the breath move there, make the breath to heal certain part of the body, or use that breath to, maybe like Shaolin like that, use the breath to create energy, shield, people hit you with the weapon, feeling and stuff like that. So that is a very different kind of breath meditation. So the breath meditation here is not to control the breathing. Yeah? So the first 2 steps, again, very interestingly, some tradition, they do control the breathing. So in breathing, breathe down, some people must make noise. You really breathe down, must make noise. If you don't make noise, means they assume you're falling asleep. But if you do too fast, become hyperventilated. So you have to be ready. Yes, it's spinning already. So in my routine, we let it be your natural reflex action, your natural reflex breathing. The only difference is you take note. So if you happen to breathe in long, then you know it's long. If it's short, then you know it's short. That's all. Okay? So we let it be your natural reflex action. So we don't purposely control. First step must be long, then second step must be short. No, we don't control. So in our routine, there's no controlling. But if you happen to learn from a certain step that's controlling, then by all means. So the whole idea is, the next one is sensitive to the entire body. Okay, so this one is about different interpretation again. Some say breath body. So example, if a person pay attention to one small area, let's say here, then they will say this is the breath body. This is the breath body. If let's say your area of attention is the whole body, then this is the whole body. So, but based on this interpretation, some people take it directly, then they say, it's the whole body. It's the whole body. So to me, it doesn't matter. Wherever your area of attention, if you keep on repeating your we say right effort, keep on applying the right thought, the mind will eventually calm down. Your body will eventually calm down. So it can be a small area, a larger area, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. So nowadays we have the COVID with the mask on. So let's say some people they learning breath from here, then they wear the mask. They cannot watch the breath anymore. Or let's say, happened, people who go to hospital, they need to insert the oxygen mask. Or sometimes people insert the tube here, tube there, the mouth got tube, the nose got tube, everywhere got tube. How to observe the breathing from here, right? So it's good to try different areas to see the similarity in the process. So this is for you to research. Maybe one day you try watching the breath here, the next day you watch here, then the next day you watch the whole body. Then does it still lead to the same result? So you expand on this. This is learning variety for your own benefit, survival. Okay, so next one is mindfulness of feeling. Okay, so this one very interesting. The 5th step, mindfulness to rapture, which is the joyful pleasure to the body. The next one is joy and happiness to the body. So this one is still not amounting to jhanas yet. Not amounting to jhanas. And the next one, sensitive to mental fabrication. Then the next one, calming the mind. Okay, so this first 2 parts is about deliberately creating an incentive for the mind to come back to the breath, to make the breath pleasant, to make the breath pleasant. So if you want to look at the Satipatthana Sutta itself, the mindfulness of feeling, it doesn't ask you to purposely make the feeling happy. doesn't make the feeling rapture or pleasurable. Whereas in this breath meditation is to deliberately make the breath pleasant. So it's very different from the pure mindfulness of feeling itself. Mindfulness of feeling have to be mindful of the impermanence of all feeling. Unpleasant feeling come, you also have to know how it arises and pass away. Pleasant feeling come, you also must know how it arises and pass away. So that is the vipassana element. Whereas down here, somehow they still not use the vipassana element. So this one is still very pro-samatha element. Very samatha. That means still trying to incentivize the mind to come to this meditation object. And so finding pleasure in the breath. So at this point of time, they're still collecting the mind, making the breath pleasant. So this is where loving kindness can come in. So in my routine, we can reach the breath well and happy. Breathe in, reach the breath well. Breathe out, reach the breath happy. So you are deliberately making the breath pleasant. So you can fulfill step 5 and step 6 using loving kindness. If not, you breathe in, breathe out like very blank, very dry. Yeah, then some people, the more they breathe, they see sometimes the face like constipation like that. Then they're forcing, they want the mind to be still, because the mind not enough merit, not enough this loving kindness also. So we need to generate merit at the same time, also generate this loving kindness. Make it pleasurable. Then you have the incentive for the mind to calm down. And then the mind will eventually calm down. So this is the 5th to the 8th step. Okay. So when the mind calms down, then we move on to the 3rd quarter, which is mindfulness of the state of mind. So this is more samatha already. Sensitive to mind. So this mind is very interesting. So if you go to the previous one, okay, never mind, I'll talk about it later. Okay, so this 9 to 11 is about calming the mind. 9 to 11 is calming the mind. So the analogy I give is normally about mud and water. Mud and water. So imagine you have a cup full of sand. If you want to have clear water, you just need to let it rest off. Then let the sand sediment sink down. Then you have like a clear layer of water. Right? So this is the analogy I give. So if you're sensitive to the mind has 2 layers. 2 layers. One is this mental fabrication. So this mental fabrication is the craving kind of fabrication, something like the mud, like the sand. So it's mixed together with another level of mind. So it's mixed together, so you get a muddy solution. So what you do is, the more you calm down, then you get a clearer mind. So the clearer aspect, you are aware of this clearer mind, and you're aware of this craving settling down. So the mind becomes 2 layers. You're aware that the mind becomes 2 layers. So it's, if you practice more, or let's say you become more sensitive, then it becomes evidential the mind has 2 layers. So you need to steady the mind, make sure the mud is settled as long as possible. So once the mud or the sand is settled as long as possible, the mind will sort of create like a potential energy. Just like a spring, you let it press the spring for a while, it has potential energy, and when you release the spring, it will jump up. So this is where this comes in. Releasing the mind. So usually nobody talks about this. So releasing the mind talks about entering the jhanas. Entering the jhanas. But in the Anapanasati Sutta, never clearly explained it. So nobody knows what is releasing the mind. Yeah, so this one is going to do with jhana. So we talk about it later. Okay, so once a person has samatha already, then you can do this vipassana, mindful of impermanence. But in my routine, I do the other way around. I do mindfulness of impermanence first to help center the mind further. Once the mind is even more settled, then you can release further. Okay, so this one is focusing on impermanence. You're always mindful impermanent. Then afterwards you get scared of it already, you know. You don't want to invest and cling on to those things anymore. The mind will naturally detach, find it dispassionate, right? Then the craving will cease, will reduce, will cease. And then eventually you want to relinquish, don't want this anymore. Because you find the peace of this reduction of craving more peaceful than a craving mind. So you need to have this differentiation first. It's not very hard to do it. Huh? So this one again requires more time to practice. Okay, so this is when the 7 factors and enlightenment come in. So when a person do practice this, they have all this impermanence and this relinquishment, then these things will occur. So I explained to you already, the 7 factors of enlightenment is a bit like a chain reaction. Once you have these first 3, then you have this rapture, then tranquility, concentration, equanimity. Yeah? So I'll talk about the next sutta, which talks about how breath meditation links to this concentration, the different jhanic concentration. And this jhanic concentration is not the same as these 7 factors of enlightenment. So we talk about this Dipa Sutta, the lamp. Okay, so basically this Dipa Sutta, the 3 talks about the same 16 steps. The same 16 steps. So I don't want to repeat. So the Buddha himself talks about how he used breathing meditation, the breath meditation to enter the different levels of jhanas. Want to take picture, you can take picture. You can later Google this Dipa Sutta. Okay, so I want to go through this. So basically this one is to avoid greed, hatred, delusion. So it's thoughts of non-greed, thoughts of non-hatred and non-delusion. Okay. So the Buddha mentioned about how he used the breath. So it talks about seclusion. The eye quite secluded from sensuality, secluded from unskillful qualities, enter and remain in the first jhana. So in the first jhana we have this joy and happiness. Ajahn Jeff translates as rapture and pleasure. So most of the translators use joy and happiness, born of seclusion, accompanied by directed thought and evaluation. Right? Then there's all these factors. So I'll show you the table, tabulated format later, easier to see. Then he should attend carefully to the same concentration through mindfulness of the in and out breathing. So mindfulness of breathing can lead to concentration, and so on and so forth, all the way to the highest one, 8th level of concentration. So the complete transcendence of the dimension of this neither perception nor non-perception. So this neither perception nor non-perception is the 8th level of concentration. And then eventually enter and remain in the cessation. So cessation is this one, cessation of perception and feeling. Then we should attend carefully to this same concentration through the mindfulness of in and out breathing. So the mindfulness of in and out breathing can enter all the jhanas, all the first to 8, and even cessation. So it's mentioned here, mindfulness of in and out breathing. So you can double check this sutta again, the Dipa Sutta. You mention every level of jhana, we have this mindfulness of in and out breathing. Second jhana also have this mindfulness of in and out breathing. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth also have this mindfulness of in and out breathing. So it's this Dipa Sutta. So if I tabulate this table, this is a confusing table, so I try to guide you through this. So if you look at the top left, you have the fourfold and the fivefold. So we are going to use the fourfold, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and the fourth jhana. So you see a dash over here. So it's basically the fifth fivefold. So the fivefold is the invention by the Abhidhamma. So the Abhidhamma will have the first and the second and the third, the fourth and the fifth. So they have the 5 form jhanas. So we are going to use the Sutta version and basically ignore this column. Ignore this column. So the fourfold will have again 5 factors. So the first factor, Vitaka, is the initial thought or initial application of thought. And Vichara is the sustained thinking. And Piti means joy, Sukha means happiness, Ekagata means one-pointedness, and Upeka means equanimity. So there are these, normally you might see this, but most of the suttas won't have this thing, this Ekagata, one-pointedness. So this one-pointedness of the mind is actually the settling of this mental fabrication. Once the mind is settled, then it's called one-pointedness. Okay, so you can take photo. Just want to take photo. Okay, so I carry on. So earlier on we talked about the step where you need to calm down the mind. When the mind is calm already, then you release the mind. And so once the mind release, that's the stepping stone for the mind to enter this first level of concentration. So the spring will spring to another value, to this state of mind, the first level of concentration. Where's my mouse? Okay. So after this, the meditator need to do the same thing, continue to mindful impermanence of the breath until this mind settle to this clear, calm mind again. Then you need to release the spring again. So if the mind you release again, you enter the second level. Yeah. So the second level have different symptoms. We have this joy, happiness, and this we don't include this one-pointed. Okay. So mainly joy, happiness. And if you continue to be mindful again, continue to keep on reflecting, the mind will settle down and achieve this stability point again. This one-pointedness, the mind calm and stable. Then when you think you're ready, then you can release again. When you release, then you go to this third level. So the third level have different symptoms. So the third level we have happiness and no more joy. So a person wants to differentiate between joy and happiness. They cannot differentiate when they are in the first and second level. This emotion comes in a package. You just know it's a shook feeling, it's a nice, nice emotion, but you don't know how to differentiate between joy and happiness. So to differentiate, you need to go to the transit between the second and the third. So if a person transit between second and third, then the difference in the emotion is the disappearance of the joy. So only when a person goes through the second and the third, then they will sort of differentiate. So happiness and a bit of this equanimity. So again, they may not differentiate with equanimity yet until they reach the fourth level. So once the mind calms down, they release the mind. Then they have the fourth level. No more joy, no more happiness, and you have this emotion called equanimity. So these are the introduction to the 4 jhanas. So in the Noble Eightfold Path, the right concentration is sort of defined as these 4 jhanas. Yeah? 4 jhanas. But if the jhanas alone itself cannot be considered as right concentration. So there are many instances in the sutta where yogi from, let's say, another religion, they attain some other jhana, right? They attain any of the jhanas, And if they do not have right contemplation, they do not have right view or right thought, after they pass away, they may be reborn in certain heavenly realm. After they use up the karma in the heavenly realm, they may be reborn in the lower realm again, in the hell, the animal, or the ghost realm. So, this concentration alone, we cannot call it right concentration without the other packages, without the right mindfulness, right view, right thought, and everything. So, this can be considered right concentration with the other Eightfold Path. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the next one.
So I think the release of mind, is it a recursive point? As you explained the first jhana, you will release the spring to jump to second jhana.
Yeah.
Release the spring to jump to third jhana. So
Yeah.
it is the release of mind that was shown earlier.
Yeah, correct.
Is it recursive?
Yeah, it's like
recursive 4 rounds?
yeah, it's like changing gear while driving.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next one to answer some of your questions. Okay, so some people are asking about the difference between the Bojjhanga Samadhi and the Jhana kind of Samadhi, right? So you can find this sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 4.41. Just going to take photo before. Okay, so I've actually covered this before in the Tuesday sessions, so but I might repeat. So there are 4 types of samadhis the Buddha mentioned in this particular sutta. So these 4 samadhis is not the 4 jhanas. One of them is. So the first one is that leads to calmness and pleasantness. Is the jhanas. And then the second kind, knowledge and vision, is the nimittas. Some people say, oh, meditate, must see light, then it's jhanas. So actually the seeing light is actually this one. It's another kind of samadhi. It's having knowledge and vision. Yeah, so some people want to see past life, or see ghosts, or see devas. It's this one, it's this second kind. So it's a different kind of samadhi. Yeah. And the third kind is mindfulness and alertness. So mindfulness of impermanence will lead to this one. Yeah, so the Bojjhanga kind of samadhi is the third one. And eventually, if a person end their defilements, end their affluence, they will develop another kind of samadhi. So an enlightened person or close to enlightened person will experience a different kind of samadhi. Yeah? Which is the result of number 3. So if they pursue number 3 long enough, they'll develop number 4. So that's why the Arahant won't be attached to form and formless concentration, because they have another kind of concentration. So they don't need to rely on form and formless concentration. Okay, so this is the same tabulated format I'm going to go through. I've gone through before. So the first kind of concentration is the jhanas, lead to a pleasant abiding. So these are the jhanas being mentioned earlier. So total, there are 8 jhanas. So normally the right concentration only give you 50% discount. Give you these 4 jhanas, but total there are 8 until this neither perception nor non-perception. So total there are 8 jhanas. So the number 5 to number 8 are called the formless jhanas, formless concentration. The first 4, first, second, third, 4 are called the form concentrations. Form concentrations. So interestingly, let people take photos. So the term cessation is actually outside of this. Outside of this. So if a person, let's say, practice the Bojjhangas, they may or may not have the jhanas. They can have 0 jhanas and practice impermanence, and they may experience cessation. Another way to do it is a person go through first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. If let's say they have no vipassana at all, they practice until the eighth, and if they do the same process, they let go, and they reach number 9. So number 9 is also cessation. Because there is a kind of detachment, they let go. So they renounce, and renounce. So the number 9 is also cessation, and they will also experience the 7 factors of enlightenment and during this cessation. Okay, so the second kind of samadhi is this knowledge and vision. And in this particular sutta, they mention how this knowledge and vision is supposed to be practiced. You need to have perception of light the whole day. It means visualize light the whole day. You're standing, sitting, walking, lying down, must perceive light. So this is the instruction. Yeah, so this is just a partial instruction from the complete instruction. There's another sutta called this Iddhipada Vibhanga Sutta, the 4 bases of psychic power. So if a person wants to develop this divine eye, this perception of light is one of the practices. Another practice is visualization of the human anatomy the whole day, the 32 parts of the body the whole day. So what we did earlier in the morning is just a shared version. I don't want to get too deep into this because this meditation is not meant for everybody. Not meant for everybody. Although it's an official meditation, officially taught by the Buddha, but it's not suitable for everybody. Let's say, for example, in the Tibetan tradition, before they take up any initiation to visualize any bodhisattva or whatever it is, they need to have a purification process. They need to have a lot of confession to purify their karma. They need to do, I don't know how many thousands or millions of mantra chanting, how many thousands of prostration. Make sure they have enough good karma before they take up this practice of visualization. So in case they happen to develop divine eye, in case the things they see is nice things. Theravada tradition don't have this purification process. So they encourage people to see white light. So sometimes if people don't have good karma, let's say they've got bad karma, then they happen to open the divine eye, then the thing they see is horror movie. Whole day they see ghosts, see demons, ghosts and demons. So may not be suitable for everybody. Some people have emotional shock after this, so not suitable for people. And this is from my personal encounter at Santi Monastery, those Ajahn King side one. There are people who want to do this visualization thing. 2 monks who did it, they disrobed. 1 monk, they able to do this, see things, they visualize, then he can sit 14 hours straight, no moving. Don't need to get up from the seat, 14 hours straight, 1/4. And he claimed he's able to see the devas or communicating with devas and stuff like that. So, but his behavior is so weird. Like when he's in Thailand, when they took all the monks on the lorry and the truck, suddenly he just jumped off when the truck is moving. Somehow he claimed he's talking to something, then he jumped out by himself. Then when he's in the forest monastery, he just walk deep in the forest and lost. Then they need a search party to search for him. So until like that. So if you're too engrossed, you might have this issue. You cannot differentiate between reality and other realms. What is in this realm and what is that realm? You mix up. And so that's for him. Then there's another one. He's okay and is mentally quite sound. So he's able to, he wants to practice this. And once he's able to see spirits, then he disrobed. And then he became a Taoist priest. Rationale is because he wants to catch ghosts. So as a monk cannot catch ghosts, because considered wrong livelihood. But if he change occupation, can catch ghosts already. So that's the issue. So that's why these are not meant for everybody. So I need right view. Right view. So how to know whether you have a right view? For example, In this Iddhipada Vibhanga Sutta, the Buddha mentioned that if a person do fulfill this practice, and then they have this divine eye, they see the past life and so on, and eventually if they have right view, they still can reach liberation. So it's possible if a person with right view can reach liberation, seeing all these things. But you need to have right reflection. Right? So to know whether you have right reflection, first is look at your here and now lifetime, your current lifetime. If you cannot even handle the ups and downs of this lifetime, and if you want to start looking at the past life, you're multiplying the problem. No, you cannot, you get upset this lifetime really. Then you see past life, oh, double, triple, depending on how many lifetimes you see. So that's the first keynote. So first is you must count in this lifetime first. If you cannot even handle this lifetime, forget about looking at past life. So this is the first criteria. Second criteria is what's your motivation? What's your innermost desire? What you want to search for? So one good key reference is to look at your own internet search history. Look at your own internet search history, because this ability is the ancient social media, the ancient Google, the ancient internet explorer. Yeah, it's the ancient internet explorer. What you want to search with this higher knowledge very much depends on the defilement. If your internet search history is full of rubbish, full of entertainment and rubbish and whatever not, if you have this thing, this ability, what will you be searching? What will you be searching? In my past life, where I keep all my treasure, how do I access my treasury? Or in my past life, who's my boyfriend and girlfriend? That kind of thing. So, not depends on this your defilement. So if your discipline, your view is not right, not suitable, not suitable for you to search. You end up searching on the wrong thing. End up you stray from the path. Right? So this is the whole idea. Okay, so you can find this in this sutta, yeah? Iddhipada Vibhanga Sutta. The analysis of this psychic power. So all the recommended exercises are there, the visualization of white light, imperatives of the body and whatever not. And you need all these qualities. You need to have chanda, wholesome desire, right intention first. Then you need energy, effort, virya. They need to put your mind and soul into the practice, your entirety of being into the practice. So engrossed and so committed. And the last one is vimamsa, differentiation. If you do not know how to differentiate, then basically you TCL. You cannot differentiate between a straight thought versus the vision. Yeah, some people cannot differentiate. So again, in the Buddhist teachers community have a different view also. Some are pro towards practicing this, some are against practicing this, and also encouraged to practicing this. So I'll just talk about the Thai tradition. Let's say Ajahn Chah, for example. Ajahn Chah has a student ask a question: what if I see light in my meditation? What if I see light in my meditation? So Ajahn Chah, you know what's his response? He takes his torchlight and shines at the person. And my torchlight also got light. Yeah. So he's not encouraging the person to pursue the light. He's asking him to reflect on this phenomenon. The light, what does it mean? So what? Yeah? So you need to reflect on this phenomenon. So it's more the wisdom-based kind. So like these terms, although it's translated by Ajahn Thanisaro. So Ajahn Thanisaro, I introduced you, is the first Caucasian Thai tradition monk to go to Thailand to take the Thai Pali exam in the Thai language and pass everything, pass to the highest grade, and he's awarded with this Chowpun title because he passed everything, right? And he came back to America. So he's the first Caucasian to do that. And I don't think anybody else did that, to study the Thai language and take the exam in the Thai language. So he's the first occasion to do that. So because he's able to do that, so whatever English word he used to translate, nobody can fault him. So he used 4 frames of reference, he used stress, and all. So nobody can fault him. He can do whatever he translate you want, because he got the title, right? But if let's say you are nobody, and before he does the translation, you translate Satipatthana as 4 frames of reference, maybe you can get marked wrong, marked wrong by examiner. Okay, so this is for him. Okay, so anyway, he has 2 teachers. One teacher is this Ajahn Lee. Ajahn Lee. So Ajahn Lee is the one that's advocating all this power thing. So he's encouraging people to develop all this power or see all those kind of thing. And the other teacher is Long Po Fong, F-U-A-N-G. Long Po Fong. So Long Po Fong is the one that discouraged people to see all these things. So there's a story about Long Po Fong. He had this monastery where he's residing. So in the monastery had this Meiji, so he's a head preceptor lady that stayed with him and sort of maintained the monastery for a long time. So occasionally they have this kind of retreat going on. So these retreat participants, even though they stay a few days, they somehow report, wow, seeing lights, seeing this, seeing that. Then they went to the interview, asked this Long Po Fong about meditation, able to see all these things. So this Meiji stay in the monastery and overheard the conversation. Wow, these yogis, they see this, see like see what. Then one day she managed to approach the abbot, Long Po Fong, and asked him, Long Po, I stay and practice in a monastery so long, I never see anything. But these meditators, they come stay a few days, wow, they see this, I see that. Why is this so? Why is this so? Then this Long Po, you know how he answered? He said, do you know how fortunate you are? Not being able to see all these things. All these other yogis, I'm so worried for them. So worried for them. Because it happens, they develop certain things, sometimes can be hindrance or danger. If let's say they are unable to discriminate between a straight thought versus a vision, so it requires special guidance. So I would say this will be useful for people who are born with this ability. Like maybe some people from young, they can see spirit really, something like that. So in order to make their mind more firm or have clearer vision, because sometimes they see maybe some flashes of blurry images, not very clear, right? So they want to clear their doubt. They may want to develop this to have certain confidence first, and before they proceed in their path, right? So might be suitable for certain individuals. But if let's say some people totally don't have this ability, then you're basically picking up more garbage, picking up more rubbish. So our 5 aggregates, our 6 sense doors cannot even handle really. You want to handle more sense doors, very challenging. Okay, so the next one, the third kind of samadhi, is this vipassana samadhi. The sutta never mentioned this term, so I just name it myself. So basically it brings mindfulness and alertness. Mindfulness and alertness. So if a person always mindful of feelings, how they arise and pass away, perception, your thoughts, how they arise and pass away, you develop this kind of mindfulness. It's a different kind of samadhi. It's not jhanas, it is not this perception of mind, it's a different kind of this samadhi. So now we'll finish the photos. Okay. Then the last one, and if a person continue to develop and pursue the number 3rd kind, he will develop the 4th kind. You lead to the ending of your affluence, the ending of your defilement. So how to end this defilement? A person must continue practice observing arising and falling of your 5 aggregates. Form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness. Yeah. all these feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, how they arise and pass away. So again, this fabrication is Ajahn Panisaro's translation of Sankhara. So most people translate as mental formation. He translates as fabrication. So these are the total 4 kinds of samadhis. Yeah. So of course the Buddha and his great disciples, some of his great disciples, able to achieve all 4. Able to achieve all 4. Yeah. Some disciples maybe achieve 1, achieve a few only, right? So again, we talk about 7 factors enlightenment. We've gone through that before. Final snapshot. Yeah. So this initial concentration here refers to this one, vipassana samadhi. Yeah? Because a person reaching here still not yet enlightened, because you need to further pursue these 7 factors to reach the culmination. So only the total culmination you get this samadhi. You get a new kind of samadhi, objectless samadhi. Yeah? So you can find this in the Mahashunyata Sutta. Mahashunyata Sutta, the greater discourse on emptiness. The Buddha mentioned for enlightened being like himself, even when he's like not meditating, like not deliberately meditating, his mind is always in a state of this samadhi, which is this objectless samadhi. You don't need to have object. You don't even need to put in effort. So there's another commentarial term we call it effortless samadhi. They do nothing also enter samadhi. So it's they don't have to do anything basically. Right? The mind is free already, liberated. Okay, so some case studies, I know it's a bit blurred. So jhana does not mean no thinking. So you need to have right thoughts. So you can find this in the Jhana Suttas, in this Anguttara Nikaya 9.44. Every level of jhana also need to reflect on impermanence. Or there's a whole list of reflection in this sutta. Impermanence, suffering, non-self, emptiness, disease, cancer, error, whatever, right? So you just think of impermanence. So the same thing, the post-canonical version of Panya Vibhuti, we said there are 2 kinds of liberation. One is Ceto Vibhuti, liberation by mind, liberation by awareness. Then another kind is liberation by wisdom, which is Panya Vibhuti. So in the Sutta version, Panya Vibhuti Sutta can be reached by any level of jhanas. First level all the way to 8th level, as long as a person reflect or investigate the Dhamma, they can reach liberation. So that's the Panya Vibhuti Sutta. Whereas the post-canonical version will tell you, Panya Vibhuti means must do 4th jhana only. They stop at the 4th jhana. Then you do your vipassana, you reach enlightenment. So that is the commentary of the post-canonical version. But the Sutta version is any level. Yeah? Okay, then we have this. We talk about this jhana sutta. Okay, so jhanas alone does not develop psychic power. So we can refer to this Junha Sutta. Junha Sutta. So this is a story of Venerable Sariputta. Venerable Sariputta is the right-hand man of the Buddha, the foremost in wisdom. And the left-hand man is this Venerable Moggallana, foremost in psychic power. So this story talks about both monks meditating in a cave. Meditating in a cave. Then Venerable Sariputta is sitting at the entrance of the cave, near the exit, near the open air. And Venerable Moggallana is sitting deep inside the cave, in the darkness. Deep inside the cave. So both are meditating. So the story goes that 2 yakas fly past. And these yakas want to attack the Venerable Sariputta. They just want to attack for no reason. Say, you fly past and see one monk with a shiny head. That time they shave it, very shiny. I feel like bashing the head. So that's the reason. So he take the club and he bashed the head of this Venerable Sariputta and flew off. So, Venerable Saipula did not see what happened, but Venerable Moggallana saw what happened. So Venerable Moggallana came out and asked, Sheikh Venerable Saipula, are you okay? Are you okay? And Venerable Saipula said, I have a bit of headache. Don't know why, a bit of headache. And Venerable Moggallana asked him, do you see what happened? And Venerable Saipula said, no, I didn't see what happened. Why? So Venerable Moggallana, with his divine eye, he had the psychic power. So he told Venerable Saipula what happened when these two yakas came and hammer your head and you fly out. Then Venerable Saipula praised Venerable Moggallana for his psychic power. Yeah. And of course, Venerable Moggallana had to give consolation to Venerable Saipula and praise Venerable Saipula for his wisdom, for his this enlightenment samadhi. Yeah, because of this discernment samadhi, then you have extra spiritual protection. Normal people without this samadhi, other divine beings, if they attack you, can kill you. Because with this, then you only have a bit of headache, cushion, force field protection. So this is the Venerable Moggallana statement. Okay, so this Venerable Saipula has all the jhanas also. Venerable Saipula can do the first jhana all the way to the 8th jhana and even cessation. At that point of time, from first to the cessation, still not yet enlightened. Still not yet enlightened. It is only after when he was fanning the Buddha. The Buddha is giving a sermon, and Venerable Saipula was listening and contemplating. Then he got enlightened. Yeah, but before that, he already has all these the jhanas beforehand. Yeah? So this incident shows that Venerable Saipula has all the jhanas, but still don't have divine eye. So the divine eye is a separate practice and requires this visualization. Visualization. Okay. Alright. Yeah, so then we go for this one. And to further add on, do which one first? Vipassana first or Samatha first? I'm going to show you another slide. Very short slide. Okay, first I'm going to introduce you what's Samatha and Vipassana meditation. So Samatha meditation is a bit like strengthening the mind, training the mind to calm down, making the mind sharper or stronger. So that's the purpose of Samatha meditation or doing jhanas. So that's the purpose. Then whereas, so the whole idea is to have a happy and contented mind. Okay, so that's the purpose, Samatha. And then Vipassana is basically using that strength to fulfill your purpose. Yeah, let's say like running, you need to travel a certain distance, you need to reach your destination. Yeah, so it's good to have a bit of cross training. So we call this sutta, right? Undirected sutta. This Bhikkhuni Vasako sutta, mindfulness. So the Buddha mentioned, or I think Venerable Ananda mentioned, there's two kinds of training. One is samatha, and the other one is undirected. So they call samatha directed. Undirected is you let your mind free. So this is open awareness style. When the mind is not restricted, it's open aware, then you can be observing the impermanent nature of this the four foundation, body, feeling, mind, dhamma. So these are the two kinds of practice. Okay, so which disciple practice what? And so we have this Venerable Ananda. In this particular incident, he went to interview all the arahants, all the enlightened monks, and ask them, what's your strategy? How you reach enlightenment? What do you practice? So after interview, he came back with 4 general kind of responses. So the first kind is The first one, they do samatha first. After they do concentration, then they proceed with vipassana. Then they reach enlightenment. So this is the first group of monks. The second group of monks do the other way around. They do this vipassana first, then their mind is tranquil, then they reach enlightenment. So this tranquility can be the vipassana kind of tranquility. So they may just simply do vipassana all the way, and they reach enlightenment. So this is the second group. Then the third group is a combination of both. So while doing jhana, they can also reflect on impermanence. So they combine both samatha and vipassana. So this is the third group. And the fourth group, I name it myself, the Zen koan style. By the sutta, it talks about this particular disciple having doubt in the Dhamma, having doubt in the teaching. So they're not sure. So they keep asking, ask until they have the answer. So it's a bit like the Zen koan. So keep asking until they reach enlightenment. So this is the fourth kind. So total there are these four. You can find this in this sutta. Yogananda Sutta intended. Anguttara Nikaya 4.17. Okay, so this is my sharing for today. Any other questions? Did I answer all the questions? Yeah, pretty much. Anyone still have any questions?
Okay, how does this thing fit into the Noble Eightfold Path?
Okay.
The sati, samadhi, where is it after that, or is it right in between that 7 days?
Actually, my opinion is like a wheel. It's like a wheel, so it's like together. When it spins, it's everything together. There's no such thing. I want to have samadhi first, I want to have sati first, but I do not have right view. I don't have right conduct. So you need to have everything together.
I'm referring to the Sattva Bojjhanga.
Yeah.
Where is that Sattva Bojjhanga fitting into the Noble Eightfold Path?
Okay, so the Bojjhanga depends on which one you practice, which strategy you practice, or what's your condition at what condition, which one is right for you to practice. So for the first kind, they do the samadhi for the jhanas first, then followed by more mindfulness and this insight, observe arising and passing. So this is the first group. Then the second group is they do vipassana first, they observe arising and passing. Right, so there's no placing which one first or which one next. Sometimes it depends on which teacher you meet first. So that teacher will teach you the particular style. Then you cannot say, I insist die must do step one. Yeah. So it depends on the condition. So we kiasu and kiasi, so we everything also do. Right, any other questions? Okay, now what time is it now?
9:30.
9:30, okay, so our session ends at 9:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no further issue, then we can call it a night.